Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning into today's Family Connection workshop for Pathways to Proactive Parenting. My name is Candace Merriman, and I'm a Family Outreach Representative with the Office of Family and Community Engagement. Today, I will be the facilitator of this session. The focus of this Family Connection is proactive parenting, where we will learn to identify proactive parenting, develop skills and tools for more proactive parenting. Today, I want to welcome our panelist, Ms. Vinita Watson. She is the Adoption Care Coordinator at UMFS in serving the Tidewater area. She works alongside a team of individuals who provide services for adoptive parents and youth and provides them with services and supports. She has been with UMFS for over 20 years, and she also leads the foster parent training there.
So, good afternoon, and thank you all so much for tuning in. And today's training is going to be a great training. I am just asking that you open your hearts and your minds to listen to what we're saying when we're talking about pathways to proactive parenting. And I want to put this disclaimer in is that I have been a social worker for 32 years. So I've worked with children and families all my life. It's all I know. It's all I know how to do. And I am here to tell you that there's no perfect parenting. But if we go by some tips and tools, it can give you some skills in your baseline so that you can know what to do to become a better proactive parent.
Wonderful. Thank you, Vanita.
Welcome.
So for today's agenda, I'll just kick us off. We'll be talking about reactive parenting, proactive parenting, provide some mindfulness strategies, and then also go through a reflection. And then again, to begin, we have reactive parenting.
So when you look at this screen and you see this picture, all of us can visualize ourselves being in this place at some point and sometime in our parenting when it comes down to our children. It is not a right or wrong. It just means that we need to learn some skills and tools that when we get in this place, we know what to do to get out of this place in a very positive manner. A place that's good for you, a place that's good for your children, and everybody can walk away feeling good about what just happened.
Right. So to get us started, some frequently asked questions that we have, I want to pose to you. So the first question is, how do you use proactive parenting with different age groups? So elementary or high school and that sort of thing.
So with proactive parenting, it is going to be based on developmental stages. And so one of the things I always tell parents is that what you want to do is you want to look up the developmental stages for your children. Because if you do that, then you'll know what's proper and what's on track for your child. And so every stage that a kid goes through, you have to learn how to communicate with them based on that stage and place that they're in.
Wonderful. And then the other question we have is, what do you do if you have not responded to something in a proactive manner? How do you fix it?
You keep trying. It's like the choo-choo train. You keep trying and trying and trying until you get it right because there's no perfect parenting.
Perfect. All right. And then for our next topic, this is all you, Miss Watson. And what does reactive parenting look like?
It looks like the picture we just saw. It's a reaction that a parent will have to their child when they're in a space where they're just not ready to deal with different behaviors. All of us have been reactive parents at some time, at some point in our lives, whether it's with a niece, it could be your child, it could be someone in the community. We've all been there before. But what makes it better and what makes it different is how we learn from our experiences. So it's not a bad thing. It's just that we have to learn from it. So reactive parenting is parenting based on an intense emotional reaction to a child's misbehavior. So if you're not in a good space, or if you had a bad day at work and your child comes home and say, I had a bad day and I don't want this water, and you react to it because you're also in a bad space, it means that you're reacting to what the child has given to you in a very emotional place. And that is not what we want. We want to teach you what to do when you're emotional, when the child is emotional, and how to become an effective parenting. So reactive parenting could be a child when you act in anger, when you act in frustration, when you're acting in fear. It may also result in affecting your child emotionally, because if you react to a child in anger or frustration, and that child is also angry and frustration, the next time they come home from school, they're not going to tell you anything. They're going to go straight to their room. They're going to retreat. So you want to make sure that you don't affect them in their emotional place. It can also damage your relationship with your child, because when children shut down, they don't want to communicate. And sometimes that can be hard to get them to open up again. And you also don't want to ignore what the underlying needs are. If your child comes home and say, I don't want the water, I had a bad day at school, or whatever, that means that something happened at school. That's the baseline that you want to get to. So we don't want to do reactive parenting. We want to take a break, take our time, and recognize what the baseline is.
Wonderful. So for the next slide, we have kind of think about what you would do. So if your 12-year-old asks you to stay up and watch a movie at 10 p.m. on a school night, what will your response be?
So we all have children that want to stay up, they want to watch a movie, they want to do something that is totally off the track of the schedule of schooling. So when a kid comes to you, when your child comes to you and asks you something that is against the rules of your household, then you have to think about, have the rules of the house been defined? Have they been set apart? Do they understand what the rules are, such as, if on a weeknight you know that you're supposed to be in bed, in your room, ready to go to sleep at 8:30, then you know a 10 o'clock movie is out of the question. And so you have to make sure that the rules and expectations of the house have been set clear.
Okay, so that's our bullet point 1 is standard response.
Mhm.
And then our next bullet point, we have react out of habit. So sometimes we react out of habit, like you said. And then lastly, remember to check your reactions.
And so when children come to us and they ask us questions, and it could be all of our kids, all age ranges, it doesn't matter, because kids got questions and they want to always break the rules, especially if something that they really want to watch. Like a child would say, can I just play the game one more time? And it's 9 o'clock and they're supposed to be in bed at 9. So you always want to watch how you are talking to that child. You want to watch what your responses are, because at 9 o'clock, you know that's your time to kind of wind down, go to your room, read your own book, and have your time to yourself. So we want to always watch what our reactions are and always have a standard response. You can say, is that part of what we agree to? Because if you make an agreement with your child together, then they'll understand what the expectations are in the household.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And so then some of the things that you already started talking about is proactive parenting, and that's having those expectations set up. So that's what we'll be covering next is our proactive parenting.
And so when you see this picture, is a whole lot different from the first picture that we saw. The first picture we saw a kid in distress. We saw parents in distress. Everybody was like, ah. And so in this picture, you can recognize that mom is leaning into the child. The child is attentive to what mom is doing, because they are doing proactive parenting. So proactive parenting, that's a place where we all want to be. I can remember when my son was in middle school, I was the most reactive parent that there is. And we know that middle school kids tend to be in a different place, because it's the most critical time of their development and their growth. They're trying to learn who they are, they're trying to find their own friends. And so our responses to them is very critical because they're already in a brand new developmental stage. And so, what I've learned when it came down to my son is that you really do have to find ways to connect. And so, that's what proactive parenting does for us. It helps us to connect to our children in ways that they can see that we're being supportive, even through this very difficult time in their lives. So, when it comes down to proactive parenting, you want to respond thoughtfully and consistently with your children. You want to be very consistent because if you have an inconsistent person, they don't know what the rules are. One day you say it's okay to watch TV, the next day you say no, you cannot watch TV. Or one day it's okay for you to go outside after school, then the next day, no, you sit at the table and do your homework after school. So you have to be very thoughtful and consistent when it comes down to the rules and expectations. We always want to respond warm when it comes down to our kids. We want to accept where they are, meet them where they are. And I know everybody has heard that before, that you want to meet your children where you are. And let me just say this to our parents. When it comes down to parenting and being a proactive parent, it does not make you a weak parent when you meet them where they are. It means that you are giving them your undivided attention so that they can get the things that they need. You want to respond sensitively to your children. You want to make sure that they know that you're connecting. They know that you hear what they're saying, and you want to make sure they feel that you feel them in the most positive way, and that you want to give them your undivided attention. That means sitting down, looking at them face to face, and hearing what they have to say. You want to respond with empathy. You want to have patience. Communication is critical, and you want to nurture that relationship. Because one thing that I do know about parenting and parenting with our kids is that they watch everything that we do as parents. And so when you're giving them your undivided attention, that means you have to turn the TV off. You have to put your cell phone down. You have to sit down and meet them where they are and be patient with them because kids don't know how to communicate as we do. So if you say what's wrong, they may go around the mulberry bush before they actually tell you what's really going on with them.
Thank you. And our next slide is how to become more proactive. There's a lot of tips here, but there's some very specific ones that we highlighted to go over today.
Yes. And so, how to be a more proactive parent? You want to be self aware. And what that means is you want to know what space you're in. Because as a parent, sometimes we can have a bad day. Sometimes things can become hectic for us. And so when we come home and we're ready to start our evening, it may not go the way that you plan. So you want to recognize where you are. So if your child comes home and have needs and you're not in the space, it's okay to say, Mommy will talk to you in 10 minutes. Give me 10 minutes. You can give them a rule and regulation about that part. You want to have self-compassion. You don't want to be so hard on yourself either, because it's okay to say, hey, I can't talk to you right now. I need 10 to 15 minutes, and that's okay. You want to be aware of where your child is. Check them out. Make sure if they're coming home, are they happy? Are they sad? Are they angry? Are they disgruntled? Are they all over the place? You want to see where your child is. And what I have found that really works, I'm telling you all, this works, having a calm voice. Having a calm voice will lure your child in, and they will listen to what you're saying. That's one of the things that I did with my own son. I used to be a yeller. My mom was a yeller. My grandmother's a yeller. People in my family are loud. And sometimes they're not yelling, they're just loud. But when I have a calm voice, when I used to talk to my son when he was in middle school, because those were hectic years, he knew that that was time to give me some attention, to hear what I'm saying. You want to describe what you see and understand. So you can say to your child, I see that you're upset. I see that you're angry. Tell me about that. Tell me a little more. You want to talk about the feelings. What are the feelings that your child is having? What are the feelings that you're having? Give them open space to recognize their feelings. If kids cannot share their feelings because they don't know how to describe it, there's a little sheet that you can get. You could probably find it on the internet that have all the different feelings on it, and you can have them point out, what are you feeling? Are you happy today? Are you sad? Are you upset? Are you angry? Are you confused? And that gives them an ability to learn how to start describing their feelings, because kids can't describe feelings like we do. And sometimes even as adults, we can't describe how we're feeling either. So you want to give them that space. You want to always use these opportunities to build your relationship with your child, because having open communication means that they know they can come to you when they're upset, and they know they will be able to recognize you when you're not in a space to talk either. Communication is grand. It's the number one thing that I would share with parents, no matter what caliber, no matter what age, no matter what stage, is to have great communication with your child, because that lets them come to you when they're in need. You want to take time out for yourself. Like I said, sometimes we're not in the space to talk to our kids right away. You have to recognize that you need a timeout, and it's okay as a parent to have your own timeout. I can say, I have said to my son, I can't talk to you right now. We'll do this when dad comes home, because you want to save that relationship and that connection so that they know it's safe to come to you and talk. You want to create a safe place in your own home where they know, I can talk to my mom, I can talk to my dad, I can tell them what's going on with me. And you want to receive that, even sometimes if it's hard to hear. You want to recognize those things. And you want to stay physically present. And what that means is, when your child is talking to you, you can't be looking all over the place. Like, I heard you. What you say? Okay. You want to be right there with them, in their face, eyeball to eyeball, listening and hearing what they're saying. Um, and sometimes when our kids give us emotions, you want to be careful with your reaction, because I'm telling you, if you react, they're not going to tell you. And so that's why you have to recognize where you are when it comes down to your children coming to you, and talking to you, and telling you how their day is because if you're not in a space and then you react to what they're saying, they're not going to tell you again, because they're not going to feel like it's safe. So you want to be able to put yourself in a position where you can handle what they're saying when they come home. And so that makes us proactive, because we are being more conscious, we're being more aware, we're recognizing, we're watching our children. I always tell parents, date your kids, just like you dated your spouse or, people in your life. Date your children. You want to know what they like, what they don't like, what foods turn them on, what activities do they like, what kind of, just date them and learn them so that when they come to you, you can recognize when something is not right.
Thank you for that information.
Yes.
That is great information.
Very important to have this kind of communication with our children.
As we continue to move forward, some steps to proactive parenting that Ms. Watson's going to go over are rest and sleep, planning family agreements, posture and tone of voice and insight, and she'll be going over these in depth through the next few slides.
Yes. And these are very critical things that we need to do, because we live in a microwave world. We want everything right now. Let's do it. Come on, move, fast, quick. But one of the things that we have seen over the course of time, over the last year since COVID, because they have done more studies and more in-depth research about this, is that we have to get our rest and sleep. If we don't get our rest and sleep, we can be very cranky. We can be very non-communicative. We can be not able to listen, because we become anxious when you don't get enough rest and sleep. So while this may be impossible, it is recommended that we get 7 to 9 hours. That means us and our kids. And I know as parents, sometimes if we get 5 hours of sleep, we're good. But it's very critical that your children get the rest and sleep that they need so that they can function well when it comes down to their schooling and their everyday living. When you want to Talk about rest and sleep. Make a schedule. You know, we know we give our kids free course and free time during the summer times, but sometimes when it's almost time to go back to school, you got to start weaning them back to their schedule of sleep, of getting on a sleep schedule. And as hard as it can be, and sometimes we know we want to reward our kids, keep them on that sleep schedule so that when they say to you, oh, I see a movie, or can I have 15 more minutes on the game or another hour, and it's sleep time, it won't be so hard to say no because you know you have set a sleep schedule. You want to put your phones away. Take the phones from the children. And sometimes as parents, we have to do the same thing. We have to lead by example, but we put those phones away 30 minutes before we go to sleep so that we can unwind and start getting our bodies in a position of rest and relaxation. Um, I know that when working with children who are in foster care and adoption, we do ask parents to take the phones away from them an hour before they go to sleep, only because it takes so long for them to unwind. Because phones make you anxious. You want to know if your friend is going to call. What time are they going to call? They told me they was going to call at 8 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock. They didn't call me. And so you start to get yourself all wound up again. So it's really good to put your phones away and have a set time. You don't have to do an hour. 30 minutes is great because it starts to help the body to relax. It starts to help the mind to relax so that you can have that. But it has to be a schedule. You have to maintain the schedules. And you want to try reading or meditating before you go to bed. Sometimes our kids like songs. Sometimes they like music, very comforting music. You want to do that so that their bodies and we as parents can get into the mode of relaxation.
Excuse me. Thank you so much. And on to the planning of family agreements.
This is the hard one. This is the hard one because we never want to do contracts or family agreements or things like that. And so what I would suggest to you is that you do it together as a family, that you sit down and make it a fun activity where everybody has their opinion and they have their voice, and then you can compromise. And so you want a plan that is going to make rules visible and colorful. So if for the younger children, you can have it in, very colorful, let them color it if they want to. And so you want to make it visual. For all ages, you want to make it visual. Sometimes we put it on our refrigerator. Sometimes we can put it on the kid's door. Sometimes we can put it in the bathroom on the door because everybody spends a lot of time in the bathroom. And so you want to make your family agreement visible and colorful depending on the age of your child. You want to talk about each rule that you're going to make. So if the rule is that the child has to go to bed at 8 o'clock, at 7:30, you want to start giving them intervals of saying, okay, you got 30 minutes before it's time to go to bed, because that gives them a mindset to start winding down as well. And so you don't just want to just pop on and say, okay, it's 8 o'clock, go to bed, and they may be involved in an activity. So you want to give them a countdown to that family agreement that you've made. You want to know what you're going to do to support a rule. If a child breaks that rule, then what is the rule behind a kid breaking a rule? So the bedtime is 8 o'clock. It is now 8:30. They're not in the bed. You checked on them. They're doing something else. What is the plan if that rule is broken? And you and your children can make that follow up to that plan together. So if they break the rule, that means that they may have to go to bed 5 minutes earlier the next day. Not crazy agreements, but something that everybody agrees to that they can do if a plan is broken. Because what children will say is, well, you let me do it last night. So you want to make sure your rules and your agreements are very understanding to everyone. You want to create a reward system. So if they follow the rules all week long and Friday night is your family night and you want to reward them, then you make up what that reward is going to be. It could be, I'm going to give you $2 to go to the Dollar Tree, or we're going to go to the park and you can go out there and play on the skateboards. Or it could be, we're going to go see a movie together. Whatever that plan is, whatever that reward is, you make sure that you are ready to give them that reward if they follow the rules all week. And you also want to, like I said, have consequences. If the rules are broken, what is the consequence? And you want to be consistent. Consistency, parents, is key. If we're not consistent, it confuses kids. And we know when children are anxious, they cannot follow rules. They don't understand what to do. So you want to be consistent when it comes down to your consequences, your rewards, and what the rules are. And when it comes down to those family agreements, they cannot be long. They cannot be long. You can't give them 20 rules. They're not going to follow it. It has to be a simple number with something that you know your child can follow.
Perfect. And then on that note, we have a few examples here on this slide.
And so these are different kind of family rules of engagement that are created based on age bracket. And so if you have younger children, you can make it as colorful as possible, as simple as possible, whatever that child can understand. If it comes down to your teens, you want to be very precise and concrete, because teens will find a loophole if it is not very understandable and very precise. And so it can be, help cleaning up. And I suggest that parents, I think they have them at Target. Sometimes they have them at the dollar store, the little boards that you can make that you can kind of erase with the erasable tools. You can use those because your rules might change as children develop and start doing things on a regular basis, because we know that when you're consistent, you create habits. And sometimes you can take away one of the expectations because they already got it, they get it, they come home and they know what to do. And so you want to make your rules of expectation very concrete and very age appropriate when it comes down to your child.
Perfect. All right. And then the next thing we'll be going over is mindfulness strategies for proactive parenting.
So because we live in this microwave world, we always want to do things that are mindful and engaging and help us to come into a calm place, because outside of our homes, things can be chaotic. But when your child comes home, you want them to feel safe, you want them to feel secure, you want them to feel peace, and you want them to feel calm. And so some strategies that we know that works, that have been researched over and over again, is walking. And this could be something that you can do with your child as a family activity, where you can go out and walk for 10 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes, and it helps you to clear your mind and clear your thoughts. And not only for the children, parents, you can do this too. And it can help you as well. It helps your body to calm down. It helps your thoughts to become clear. It helps you to take away all of those anxieties of the day. We want to learn how to breathe. I took a mentoring class, and one of the things that they encouraged us to do is mindful breathing, where you breathe in and you breathe out. And believe it or not, because we're not in a place where we do that a lot in our daily lives, sometimes it seems weird and odd, but when you breathe in and you breathe out, it actually does start to calm your body down. When it comes down to meditation, people have different thoughts about meditation. Oh, I'm not going to do that. I don't like, closing my eyes and not being aware of where I am. But meditation and breathing is one of the best things that we can do for ourselves. When you close your eyes and take deep breaths, do slow breathing, and the minimum you can do is 5 minutes, and I promise you, you will feel better, you will be more relaxed, and your mind does get clear, especially as parents. If we come home and we're not in a good space, or if your child has done something at school and you get that phone call that they have, you know, been in some type of interaction at school, you do these mindful meditations. It has to be mindful. You have to be deliberate. Like, help me to understand what I'm going to say to my child. And when you breathe in and you breathe out, it'll help you to be calm. So when they come home and you have to address it, you'll be in a better place. Music is great. Everybody loves music. It is a known fact that music makes us feel good. It makes us happy. It makes us smile. It makes us just feel very joyful. Turn on the music at home while you're cooking and have the kids come and dance with you for a few minutes. It is relaxing, it's calming, it's fun, and everybody can do it. And kids get really tickled when they see their parents dancing because they think we don't know how to dance. And so it is a very wonderful thing. And one of the things I truly, truly love is journaling. If we teach our kids to learn how to journal their feelings, it makes such a difference. And even for us as parents, if we journal. And what I tell young people about journaling is that's your journal. You can write in it whatever you want to write. And you don't have to be perfected in your spelling because you know what you're saying, and that is your journal. And one of the things that we have encouraged families to do is to have a family journal. Like if a child comes home and they just cannot tell you what's going on, they just don't want to, they shut completely down, you can say, okay, here's our family journal. You can write in this journal what you're feeling and how can I help you as your mom or as your dad. And then they write in the journal, they give it back to you, and you write in what your strategy is, and it becomes a back and forth thing where you have a family journal. And that helps children to learn how to communicate too, because if they can write in that journal what they feel and you're responding, that helps them to become connected to you. And then eventually you're going to start having those face-to-face conversations because they won't be afraid. Sometimes children are just afraid to tell us how they really feel. And so journaling is a way for them to write down their thoughts, write down what they're feeling. They can even color, they can paint it, they can do whatever they want because that belongs to them. And we have to respect what they say and address it in a nice, calm manner in their journal because I love journals. You can get them anywhere and encourage your children to write since, it's a great learning tool as well. So journaling is one of the greatest things that we can do for our kids. Um, and so these proactive mindfulness strategies, they sound simple, or you say, oh my God, I ain't got time for that. But you can practice breathing in your car. You can practice breathing um, anywhere at your desk because these work. And if we teach our children, everybody can be in a more better place and state of mind when it comes down to receiving our parenting.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we're going to talk about posture and tone of voice.
Mm-hmm. And so sometimes we have parents who are yellers. Sometimes we have parents who just talk very loud. Sometimes we have parents who talk very low. Sometimes we have parents who don't talk at all. But you want to be very mindful of your posture and tone when it comes down to our kids. Because if I'm talking to Miss Candace and I'm screaming and yelling at her, she's going to be going away from me and slipping away because, like, why is she yelling at me? Because your posture and tone would either draw a child in or draw them out. And so when it comes down to your children and time for positive parenting, proactive parenting, you want to sit down next to your child. You don't want to have them across the room and you're right here because it seems like you're going to be doing this. But if you have a sofa that you can sit here, your child can sit here, sit next to them. And don't stand over them because that's an authoritative position. You don't need to claim your authoritativeness because they already know you're the parent. So you want to meet them where they are. You want to use neutral tones. Like I said, with my son, if I wasn't in my high pitched voice and I was in a very monotone, calm voice, he knew that this was a serious time that we needed to sit down and talk. And it set the tone for our conversation. And you want to keep a level volume that's very, very soothing to everyone. And if you find yourself getting to a place where you can't control the tone of your voice, take a time out and say, hey, let's come back to this in 10 minutes. You go to your room, I'm going to go to mine. Let's come back in 10 minutes. And it's okay to do that. It doesn't mean that you have failed in that piece. It means that you need to just go take a breather so that you can come back and make it a safe place for the child to respond to you. So posture and tone is very important. Mhm.
Okay. And then now is what we're going to call the self-assessment.
So self-assessment, as parents, we put ourselves in very high places when it comes down to parenting because we want to do what's right. We want to do everything is right. Perception is important to us. Um, how other people perceive us as parents is very important to us. But you want to make sure that you're in a good place with yourself and with your children because what others feel is what others feel. And so, um, children need to learn that people do not always respond in an ideal manner. They need to learn that um, interaction with others can be successful sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't have to be successful. But if you assess it with your children, then they know they can come back and redo. It's okay to redo. And that's what I say with self assessment. It's okay to redo because there's no such thing as perfect parenting. Sometimes you're going to yell. Sometimes you're going to react in the wrong way, but you can come back and do a do over. And those are okay. And it doesn't make your parenting style any less. It just means that your children know if they make mistakes, they can come back and do it over as well. It's a place of growth. It's a place of understanding. It's a place that says, hey, we're growing in this thing together and we're making this connection as a parent and child.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
And then we have our reflection.
So, reflection is um, proactive parents can reflect on their mistakes and plan to do things differently the next time. And so I remember when my child came home from school and he had gotten in trouble and he was put in school suspension because he called a teacher, "Hey girl." My reaction was not very good. And I think I took on the teacher's persona because I was like, okay, why are you calling your teacher girl? Why did you disrespect your teacher that way? And that is not okay. And so instead of me sitting down talking to him calmly about what happened and why he felt he could do that, I totally reacted. And I had to go and talk to one of my girlfriends and said, "Do you know what this boy just did in school?" And I had to come back and do a do-over and sit down and talk to him while I was explaining to him that what he did was wrong. I also explained to him that my reaction was wrong because I didn't get the full story. And so we were able to make a plan that you don't talk to teachers that way. You have to go back to apologize just like I apologize to you, and you have to do things right. And so it let me know that sometimes we don't always make it on the right mark. Sometimes we're going to react, but it's what we do after the fact that we have to reflect on our mistakes and go back and do overs. Proactive parents can take on constructive feedback. That's why it's good to talk to other parents. It's good to have a great support system because when you're raising children, sometimes you just need somebody else's advice and opinion. And it's okay to have a good working network where you can go and get support yourself. And that sometimes what we hear, we might not always agree with, but somebody that's going to give you good, constructive feedback. Proactive parents always practice the skills of pausing before reacting. Now, that was a hard one. I had to learn that one, you guys. I had to learn not to react. My husband is a very calm person, so he doesn't react. And so I had to learn that skill that sometimes you just have to go, and not say anything because that initial thought or that initial thing that comes out your mouth can be damaging to your child. So you want to practice pausing before you say something, especially if they come home and they have a bad grade on their report card. you want to pause. If they come home because they got in trouble at school for talking too much, you want to pause before you react. So it's okay to learn how to pause. I had to learn it. It's a skill that it took me time to learn, but I knew that it was important because I'm reactive. And I knew that about myself. That's a part of my self-reflection, but I learned the skill and it became better. And today I have a very good relationship with my son, and I still have to pause sometimes. So it is a skill that we have to learn. And also, you want to learn how to listen. And so, because we live in this fast paced, domineering world, sometimes we don't really listen. We hear what we want to hear, but we're not listening. So it's very important to give your children undivided attention. So when you listen to what they're saying, you can give it back to them just how they said it and not your own interpretation. So we have to learn how to listen. Sit down in a quiet, calm way and listen to what your child is saying. So reflection is very good. Reflection is very good. And we got to remember that life happens. It is what it is. Sometimes we're not going to do proactive parenting. Sometimes we're going to be reactive parents. But the good thing is we can do it over because guess what? Life happens. There's no perfect parenting. We are still in a learning phase. I don't care how old your children get, you are still learning because it's based on relationship. In the same way that experts recommend we eat healthy food 80% of the time, let's see if we can aim to be responsive parents 80% of the time. It's all about give, take, give, take, respond, listen, do overs. Life happens. And that means that there's no perfection anywhere. We're not going to find it. And if once you realize that there's no perfect parenting, it takes the pressure off of us as parents and that you can take it and meet your children where they are so we can give them what they need.
Perfect.
That's what we do. That's what we do.
So this is all that we have for you today. Here is Miss Watson's contact information. If you have any questions or have any need for any of the services that we talked about earlier, feel free to reach out to her via email. And at this time, I would just like to thank you, Miss Watson, for being with us today. Your information was very insightful, and it was just a really good way for us to continue to practice.
What we preach.
Yes.
And I just want to say that I hope that the information has been good because even as a parent now, we're still learning, we still evolve, we learn something new every day when it comes down to our children. And because of the world we live in, we do have so many pressures of parenting and school and activities and pressures and rules and regulations. But I'm telling you, if you follow some of these simple strategies and techniques, it will make households a little bit better because all the expectations will be understood, and you can make it into family activities when it comes down to doing your little expectations and your rules that you have for your kids, because if they're a part of it, then you can always say, hey, we did this together. And it makes a very big difference when they're involved in the everyday routines of life. So good luck to you. If you have questions, you have my contact. I am more than willing and available to talk to you. Have a good one.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for joining us, and hope you have a great week.
Thank you.